Yeah. 'Cause you also have an album in the stores with three of your brothers called 2300 Jackson Street.
Yeah.
That's a good album. I love She.
Do you?
They should release that, man. That's
a very good record.
Yeah.
It's a very good album.
How's it doing? Doing all right?
It's doing okay, but it could be doing better.
Yeah.
The Jacksons performed their final Victory Tour concert at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles on December 9, 1984. During the concert, Michael announced that it was the brothers' final tour together.
I'd like to say, this is our last and final tour. And I think this is our farewell tour. Y'all been wonderful. It's been a long 20 years, and we love you all.
Michael would be leaving the group and putting his full attention on his solo career. In Catherine's book, My Family, The Jacksons, Jackie says originally, I thought that Tito, Randy, Marlin and I would return to the studio with Michael after the Victory Tour. I wasn't counting on Jermaine being involved because he wasn't signed to Epic. Then we learned that CBS wanted another Michael Jackson album first. Catherine says in her book, the boys really had no choice but to wait for Michael to record Bad. While they did in 1985, their ranks shrank by one. After Michael left the group, Marlin decided to leave as well. He recalls in Catherine's book, I called a family meeting to tell everyone of my decision to leave the Jacksons. Of course, they wanted to know why. I replied, I've been doing this for 20-some years. It's not that I haven't enjoyed being in the group, because I have. But being in the Jacksons is not something that's motivating me right now in my life. I need something that keeps me going. That's more of a challenge. Pursuing a full-time solo career is a real big challenge. Going into the meeting, I knew how everyone was going to respond. I knew my father was going to say, no, you can't, which he did, and continues to do to this day. I knew my mother was going to be supportive, which she was. Whatever makes you happy, I'm for it. And I knew that Michael was going to grill me about my specific plans, which is exactly what he did before declaring, Marlin, if that's what you want to do, no one is going to stop you. That was the first time I think my family ever really saw me. I was the person in the family who never said anything, never showed any emotion. It was such a change for me to speak up, and it felt good. Catherine supported Marlin's decision, but she admits that during the meeting, she kept thinking to herself, what is going to happen to the Jacksons without Marlin, and with Michael doing another solo album? Jackie says in Catherine's book that by 1987 it had been 2.5 years since the Victory album. Michael still hadn't released Bad, and it finally dawned on us that he wasn't going to be available for the next group album. So we decided, hey brothers, let's do it ourselves. Playing a key role, ironically, was Jermaine, who originally wasn't going to participate in the album. To work with his brothers, he had to put his Don't Take It Personal album on hold. But that's how important he thought it was to see another Jacksons album in the stores. We don't want to see the legend of the Jacksons just wash away, he declared at a family meeting in 1988.
This is Jermaine's latest album. It's entitled Don't Take It Personal, just like the single he just did. It took 3 years to put this together. What took so long?
Working with my family and planning and just trying to get a different direction and trying to find my pocket, meaning the type of songs that would portray my voice best.
Oldest sister Rebe said, Jermaine tried to get the brothers to see that not everybody in the family is a lead singer, that their real strength comes from blending their voices together. To put it simply, Jermaine took Michael's place in the group. He filled the void. Jermaine sung lead on several tracks on the album. But the album also gave a chance to showcase Randy, Jackie, and Tito's lead vocals as well. The brothers cut some tracks in Tito's home studio. Finally, in 1988, work began on a new Jacksons album. Even before the album was released, Jermaine was calling it, by far the greatest piece of material that the Jacksons had ever put together. Even though a Jackson album was long overdue, Jermaine, Jackie, Tito, and Randy didn't want to rush their work. They had heard the gossip in the industry that the Jacksons were nothing without Michael, and they were intent on proving the skeptics wrong. Tito said in the Jacksons' legacy book after the Victory album, We wanted to do another record. At that time, our label wasn't really involved. They didn't say, go into the studio and record an album. Here's the budget. So we started making 2300 Jackson Street on our own. We tried to make the album different. We worked with a few different people and also tried to make a different sound. We had producers like Michael Omartian. I sang lead with Jermaine on one song, Art of Madness, written by Omartian and Bruce Sudano with Jermaine. Babyface and L.A. Reid wrote and produced the album's first single, Nothing That Compares to You. The Jacksons also enlisted the help of the young newcomer, Teddy Riley, who was eventually worked on the best-selling New Jack Swing album, which is Michael's 1991 Dangerous album. The brothers worked with Teddy first. He produced the title track and one of the best songs on the album, She. The Jacksons worked with Atala Zane Giles, who co-produced 4 of the songs on the album. Catherine in her book says, the thing that struck me about the album when I heard it was its great variety. It was like a musical version of a chef's salad. A little funk, a little pop, a little easy listening. Although I found myself humming several of the songs after only a few listenings, I had an immediate favorite, the autobiographical title tune, 2300 Jackson Street, co-written by Jermaine, Jackie, Tito, and Randy, and Gene Griffin and Aaron Hall. It features the vocals of every one of my kids except LaToya. In the Jacksons' legacy book, Jackie said, the idea came from Teddy Riley, but the melodies came from us. Teddy came up with the title track and we all wrote it. It's a beautiful song, and we included vocals by some of our nieces and nephews on the track. You can hear the voices of Jermaine's kids and some of the other brothers' kids. It was a headache trying to get them together because they were all talking and we had to keep saying, quiet, quiet. But it was fun and we really enjoyed it. The song 2300 Jackson Street was about their humble beginnings and childhood home the family grew up in when they lived in Gary, Indiana. The Jacksons actually grew up on Jackson Street.
2300 Jackson Street is about your family and the closeness. I guess the address of your house was 2300?
Yeah, that's where we grew up in Gary, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
That's the original address. We actually lived on Jackson Street, which was named after the American presidents, and then later they named the street after us.
The song 2300 Jackson Street includes all the Jackson siblings except for LaToya. LaToya at the time was estranged from the family due to her abusive relationship with her then-husband Jack Gordon. According to her, she was supposed to be on the song. In her book, Growing Up in the Jackson Family, she writes, distraught over my family situation, I was surprised and delighted when Jackie called to ask me to sing on 2300 Jackson Street. The album he, Tito, Jermaine, and Randy were recording at Havenhurst and in Tito's home studio. I thought the plans were definite, but strangely, nothing ever came of them. Jackie and Jermaine kept insisting I fly home to add my vocals to the title track. I explained that I was doing 2 days of television work before departing for Europe on business, so we then agreed that Jermaine would record me in a Manhattan studio the next time he was in town. When he did come to New York, however, he never called. I discovered my brother was in the city only through a friend. I phoned the hotel he usually stays in but was informed he'd checked out. I had never heard from him about it again. Because of this, LaToya was not on the song or in the video. Marlin, who sung on the song, does not appear in the video. In an August 1989 Jet magazine article, it reports he was out of town. The video for the song, directed by Greg Gold and produced by Phil Rose, was filmed March 1989 during their annual Family Day reunion at their Havenhurst home in Encino, California. It shows the family playing together, having fun together, and singing together. Jackie said, after the album was finished, Jermaine played a tape of it for Michael at his ranch. Michael couldn't believe how good the album was. Tears rolled down his cheeks as he listened. He was immediately on the phone to Walter Yetnikoff, the CBS Records chairman. Don't lose the Jacksons record, he told him. It's a great record, a #1 record. Catherine writes in her book, with the possible exception of the Jackson 5's debut album, I don't know when the family has more eagerly anticipated the release of a Jacksons album. Finally, in May 1989, nearly 5 years after the release of the Jacksons' last album, 2300 Jackson Street was shipped to the record stores. We all watched with great interest as the first single, Nothing That Compares to You, and the album shot up in the black charts. We had cause for celebration when both eventually made the black top 10. But we were all deeply disappointed when 2300 Jackson Street failed to cross over onto the pop charts. The boys and Joe and I knew the album had enough strong songs and the sound to merit a crossover. But we also know that an album can't go anywhere when the record company isn't 100% behind it. Michael continued to exhort CBS Records to promote the album after its release. CBS continued to promise that it would. But it was clear before long that CBS had no intention of giving 2300 Jackson Street an all-out push. The question was, why? The answer had to do with the fact that 2300 Jackson Street was the final album that the Jacksons were contracted to deliver to the record label. Instead of really promoting the LP in the hopes of re-signing the Jacksons, as we all thought CBS would do, the company had apparently given up on or decided against continuing their relationship with the Jacksons. Why would they fatten frogs for snakes? Is the way I put it to the boys. They're not going to make you big if they don't know whether or not you're coming back with them. The fact that 2300 Jackson Street wasn't able to get a fair hearing from the public was a bitter pill for the boys and Joe and me to swallow. I've often referred to the Jackson family story as a Cinderella story, but this was one Jackson story without a happy ending. The album marked their 25th anniversary doing music, starting their career in 1964. Even with great songs on the album, it didn't do as well as it should. Why? All because CBS didn't want to continue to work with the Jacksons without Michael, so they refused to market the album. Deciding they wanted to sever ties with the brothers, they put no effort in promoting the project. The Jacksons haven't put out an album since. There's been rumors for years and years of a new Jacksons album. Will we ever get it? Hopefully we will, but in the meantime go stream the 2300 Jackson Street album. It's a fantastic body of work. Comment below and let me know your favorite song off 2300 Jackson Street. If you enjoyed this video and want more stories behind the scenes, more stories behind the songs, and more stories behind the siblings, which is the Jacksons, please like, comment, and subscribe. This page is ran by the Jacksons 70s and 80s Instagram page. Be sure to follow and leave a message. God bless.